Oh, yeah, there's a massive basketball game this weekend against the Brown Bears. But hey, first, we got to talk about the transfer portal, all things recruiting with managing editor of Spartans Illustrated, Ryan O'Blennis. Let's get to it.
Are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday night, happy Friday morning, or happy weekend. Whenever you're listening to this, hey, happy whatever time of day it is. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for kicking off your weekend with us here at Locked On Spartans, your team every single day. If you have any questions, want to reach out, want to make fun of all the hats that I wear to hide up this horrible hairline that I have, hey, lockedonspartans@gmail.com is the place to find us. But hey, it's not just me this show. This is very exciting. Segments 1 and 2, we're going to be doing all football transfer and recruiting talk with the one, the only, Ryan O'Blennis of Spartans Illustrated. Ryan, how on earth are you doing over there, man?
I'm good. It's been a kind of whirlwind making this transition over there, but
sure,
it's going well so far.
And it's also a whirlwind too because we are less than 2 weeks away from early signing day kicking off. December 21st is that big date. We also got a big weekend here, Ryan. Let me just bang out the list of confirmed visitors that we have in front of us for the football team this weekend. We have Jalen Baringer, three-star athlete from the great state of California. Walter Samuel, who is a Tulane commit, speedster, running back, three-star kid. Sean Brown, three-star defensive back. He is an Arizona Wildcat commit right now. Ademola Filet, Norfolk State, may or may not be visiting. We'll get back to him later in this conversation. Sam Leavitt, talked about him yesterday, three-star Washington State quarterback commit, trying to flip him. But the big visitors, I got two names written down. Keyshawn Blackstock. Keyshawn Blackstock, junior college transfer out of the state of Georgia, the number one junior college offensive line. And Tumishe Adeleye, we've talked up and down about him all week long. He is the former top 40 recruit, transfers from Texas A&M. We'll see what Michigan State can do here. But hey, what sticks out to you the most about that whole list of names? How should we be feeling as Spartan fans, Ryan?
Yeah, it's a big weekend with, as you mentioned, signing day just a couple weeks away. It's going to be important to, obviously have a good visit for these guys and try to get them to sign with, a smaller class right now that they're trying to fill out. I think that, you look at a guy like Baringer and Leavitt, those are probably the two interesting names as far as the high school recruiting goes. And then the transfers with Blackstock and Tumise. And, those are two big names that if Michigan State can attract them to the program, that they can be difference makers right away, or at least, be part of a strong rotation. So, I think Sean Brown's an interesting one. He's kind of an athlete that can play both sides of the ball. Michigan State is recruiting him to be a defensive back, as far as I know. All of the names this weekend are ones to watch, especially with how close we're getting.
And so going back to, Sean Brown, three-star defensive back commit from Arizona, 6'3" kid. I mean, he is listed as an athlete on a lot of sites out there, so he could play a variety of positions, no doubt about that. But you mentioned something before we were recording about a potential relationship with someone else that is visiting this weekend in Jalen Baringer. What insight do you got for us there with those two kids?
Yeah, so those two are best friends, and they're
doesn't hurt.
Also, another interesting wrinkle is that Baringer visited Washington State last week with Leavitt. He's a Washington State commit. So those two have already been talking, and they knew they were going to take this Michigan State visit together too. So I think all three of them could end up being pretty close out there from the West Coast. And if one of them is feeling Michigan State and the other two want to go with them, I don't see that as any kind of disadvantage. I think that's a good thing. So that's definitely an aspect of this to watch as well.
And you know what? Let's go right to that Sam Leavitt conversation right there. Talked up and down about him in the third segment of yesterday's show. Jay Johnson visits him last week, and now, hey, well, this Washington State commit is visiting East Lansing this weekend coming up. But a lot of people want Dante Moore, obviously. 5-star kid, local kid, Detroit kid, everything like that. And yes, I'm sure that still is the crown jewel that you're going after. But how do you read this whole situation? Do you think that this is kind of a signal that maybe the Dante Moore ship has kind of sailed, so to speak? Or do you think that there's a window for opportunity there?
I think it's smart on, Jay Johnson and Michigan State's part to, I know that they've been building up this relationship with Leave It for a while, and they just now offered, but, I don't think he should be looked at as a backup plan per se. I think that, he's a kid that they're really high on. With Moore, I haven't personally heard anything that would make me think that he's, considering going to Michigan State. He still hasn't been confirmed to visit or even rumored to visit. I think that the odds of that are very low. Dan Lanning came out from Oregon to Detroit recently, spent time with him. They posted a picture holding up the O. He seems, I don't know for sure, but he seems pretty locked into Oregon for me, even with, Kenny Dillingham leaving there, which was his primary recruiter, and he was close.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that unless something changes, I don't see Moore coming to Michigan State, and I think that Leave It was kind of a under the radar player that Johnson and the staff found who could end up being pretty dang good. So I don't necessarily think that it rules Moore out. I've heard that Tucker is visiting him soon.
Okay,
I haven't been able to confirm if or when that's happened yet, but that's what I've heard, and I know that that they're still going to not completely give up on him, but as of right now, I'd be pretty shocked if Moore ended up being a Spartan.
So let's just talk ourselves, and it doesn't take a lot to talk yourself into Sam Leave It if you've watched his film by any chance. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to do so, Ryan. I watched a little bit last night, and okay, yeah, you can see why a lot of schools are starting to get interested in Sam Leave It. But in your opinion, and I hate to do this, count your chickens before they even hatch. Like, the kid is still committed to Washington State. It is not a foregone conclusion he will commit to Michigan State. But hey, for the sake of conversation, what is it that you like most about Sam Leave It's film and prospect, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think the thing that jumps out is that he's very athletic. He can move around in the pocket, and he can take off with the ball when he needs it. But also when he's moving and when he's throwing the ball on the run, he's still throwing frozen ropes. I mean, he just has some incredible zip on the ball. And, it's high school in Oregon. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with how heavy the competition level is there, but just it's clear that he's, pretty much the best player on the field in his highlights. And, I think that he's an exciting player that can make a lot of things happen with both his arms and legs. I had to dive into it a little bit deeper, but I think that, he definitely could be a difference maker eventually for this team. Obviously there's going to be some guys ahead of him for a while if he did end up coming to Michigan State. Whether that be Peyton Thor next year, or Caton Hauser, or even Noah Kim, or
we'll see.
That's an entirely different conversation. But I think that what I've seen from Leave It is that he looks like he has a lot of natural ability that can be developed. And say what you want about Jay Johnson as a play caller, but I think he is, has a pretty good track record as a developer.
Yeah.
So, I definitely don't think that Leave It should be ranked as low as he is. He doesn't have a lot of offers, but at the same time, maybe he was just one of those late risers, and see what happens in the future with him.
And Jay Johnson's just got a great eye for talent as well. Like, he has been on Leave It very early on in his career, and all that he's done is just shot up these recruiting boards. No matter what site you look at, I mean, it seems to be that this Sam Leave It kid is climbing higher and higher. There's one more target, I should say, that I want to get to in a hot second, and he's committing somewhere on December 15th. We're talking about Samson Okunlola, but there is a transfer tie-in here that Spartan fans may or may not know about. That's what we call a cliffhanger, Ryan. That's right. We call that a tease in the podcast industry. We'll get to that in a hot segment. First, I just have to talk everyone's ear off about BetOnline. If you're like me and you got the World Cup fever, you watch soccer once every 4 years, and you just cannot wait to get some wagering action on it, for this weekend. Hey, betonline.net is where I've been doing it. It's where you should be doing it as well. Or hey, if you're feeling good about the Michigan State Spartan versus Brown Bears basketball game this Saturday, do so at betonline.net. We're talking about the number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds, trends, everything that you need for professional and amateur leagues out there. From football to basketball to soccer, and yes, even esports. Oh yeah, they got you covered at betonline.net. And hey, if you love sports podcasts, which I'm going to just fetch a guess that you do since you're listening to this right now, hey, I got good news. You can find even more of those at BetOnline as well. We are the fastest and easiest way to get in on all the sports betting action. So what are you waiting for? Head to the website today. Use your mobile device. Learn more about the trends and action. That is at BetOnline where the game starts. And let's start the second segment of Locked On Spartans here with Ryan O'Blennis, managing editor of Spartans Illustrated, with a little crossover between recruiting and transfer portal action here. Samson Okunlola, you probably already know his name, everyone. He is a top 3 offensive tackle prospect in the class of 2023. He's going to be committing somewhere. December 15th, he has taken an official visit this weekend to Florida. It's been a while since he's been to Michigan State. However, here's the transfer tie-in. The name that I probably butchered earlier when I was going through all the visitors. Ademola Filet. Yes, that is a Norfolk State tight end transfer. He had something like 4 catches for 55 yards and 1 touchdown this year for Norfolk State. Why is MSU offering him? Why are they bringing him on campus? Well, it's because he is Samson Okunlola's cousin. This is clearly a play to try to sweeten the deal for Samson Okunlola. Ryan, how do you dissect this whole situation of bringing a FCS level, not really starting caliber tight end here, just to try to get this 5-star kid as a freshman? I don't hate it, but I want your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what they're doing here, I can't really fault them. But at the same time, I don't think that Okunlola is going to pick Michigan State. It seems like he's trending away. So gotcha. I mean, maybe there's legitimate interest in Fele, but it's, he, as you mentioned, he wasn't highly productive at Norfolk State, but it doesn't necessarily mean he can't be developed into something. But
maybe he was misused.
Right?
Yeah, maybe he was underutilized. There we go.
I don't know too much about Norfolk State football, but it could be
no.
Yeah, but I mean, I haven't been able to confirm that he's visiting. He's one of the few that have said that they have a public offer from Michigan State, so that could be coming, but I'm not sure about that. With that said, it will be interesting to see what happens with Okunlola because he's pretty much got any suitor that he wants after him, and he's got his options open, and he's been one of the quieter recruits to follow. He doesn't talk a lot about it publicly, so I'm a little bit interested to see, where he ends up. But, at this point, I'd be very surprised if that ended up being Michigan State.
I think Filet is almost like the canary in the coal mine here for this whole saga, at least from a Michigan State side. Because, you said, too, it's not a for sure if Filet is visiting. There have been reports that he is. But if we get out of this weekend and, he never even showed up, okay, I think that means the Samson thing is officially gone. I think that dream is out the window because, I'm sure the staff, we could have an adult conversation about this. I'm sure Filet's a great kid, good player. Hope he finds a great spot. But I don't think the staff would be all thrilled to have this tight end that odds are won't have a high production year for Michigan State next year commit on campus and take up one of the 8 spots that Michigan State has, all for Samson not to even consider Michigan State. So long story short, if Filet doesn't come this weekend, then Samson ain't coming either for sure. That brings the percent chance of 10% down to probably 0.10% in my opinion. That's just how I read it. I don't know if you've got the same vibe or not.
Logic makes sense to me.
Yeah, I know. Because it's not like they have a lot of openings right here. You only have 8 spots, and that could be divvied up between transfers that you bring in or new additions to the 2023 class. And that's kind of where I want to shift the conversation right now is transfer portal is a buzzing in college football. Over 1,000 players have entered their name. This is a bustling business going on, but yeah, guys have left Michigan State, but it hasn't been an overwhelming number. And that's why Michigan State can only take on 8 more kids. Do you find that surprising that it's kind of been, in comparison to other schools, this quiet for Michigan State so far?
I do, yeah. I expected a few more names by now, but it's also possible too. Obviously it's a little bit different this year with the transfer portal windows. There could be
Yep.
kids who want to stick it out now until spring and then see how that goes, and then enter the portal. Or there probably will still be a couple before then that end up in the portal too. But yeah, as of now, I mean, there have not been many, and two of the players, Terry Lockett. He left the program a while ago, and I also was able to confirm that Kobe Myers hasn't been with the team for most of the fall either.
Okay.
And so when he entered the portal, he technically already wasn't part of the team, and obviously same with Lockett. And then, Jack Stone, he announced a little bit earlier than the portal window opening, so that one wasn't surprising. Michael Fletcher, Chase Carter, Deshaun Mallory, Jalen Hunt, all on the defensive line. That's kind of a lot of guys there that are depth pieces. But at the same time, though, I think Michigan State can add one or even two defensive linemen from the portal, and then you have a pretty strong defensive line class coming in from the high school ranks.
Yep.
I think they're going to be mostly fine there. I think Hunt and Mallory were guys that ended up getting a lot of playing time this year, but that was mostly due to injuries, and they had to play out of position at defensive end a lot. And Fletcher was also another guy who was getting a lot of playing time toward the end of the year due to the injuries. So when you have guys with experience, it's always nice for them to come back and at least provide depth or try to work their way into the rotation. But so far, from an on-the-field standpoint, there hasn't been a ton of production loss of those who entered the portal. Like I said, I'm sure that there will be more, and I'm sure that the players who have entered will be missed. Like I said, Fletcher and Mallory and Hunt and those guys all have significant playing time, so that's not a non-zero factor, but it's
right.
It is what it is.
Totally. And you know what? We'll wrap up the conversation here. And 'tis the season, Ryan. It is holiday season, season of giving, season of wishing. On top of your wish list for this transfer portal cycle, what do you want to see Michigan State fill out? I guess top position group that you want to see just them hit a home run in for this transfer portal window. Is it that defensive line that you're talking about, or do you go somewhere else here for your wish list?
I think if they're able to land a Tumise, that'd be huge on the defensive line. But I think also the offensive line could definitely be upgraded, at least from a competition standpoint and rotation standpoint. I actually think that the projected starters for next year's rotation aren't that's a solid group. There can definitely be competition added and upgrades there. But I think that they have solid players there. They just need to build some depth. I think that I'm interested to see what happens at running back. I think that Barberin, I feel like Barberin is definitely a candidate to end up committing to Michigan State. I don't know for sure. Kedrick Riscano is not ruled out yet.
Right.
And so if they end up with two running backs in the class, especially those two, then I don't think they'll go looking in the portal. If they end up with just one, then I wouldn't be surprised to see a portal back come in, especially because Jared Broussard is going to the Dread. We don't know what's happening with Elijah Collins, if he's coming back or not. So, possibly wide receiver could be another, that's still a pretty deep group in my opinion. But, when you're losing Jaden Reed, so, you could be looking for an immediate replacement there, or you can see what you got in your younger guys going into the year. I think defensive back is always an area that Michigan State's going to need an upgrade in based on how the past defense played the last 2 years. So there's a lot of different areas they can go. It's very hard to predict because it's not like high school recruiting all the time where kids are going public with their offers from Michigan State, and there's a lot of buzz about it. It's a lot more secretive, and so it's hard to say what players are interested in Michigan State and vice versa right now. But I think there's a lot of different ways we'll end up going here.
No doubt. And it's going to be an exciting 2 weeks. And also, just like you mentioned, too, even the spring, too, because the portal window opens back up for that season as well. But hey, we got some more fun stuff to talk about. But we're going to say goodbye to Ryan here in a hot second. Thanks a ton for your time, generosity, your knowledge. But on the other side of this break here, yeah, basketball game this Saturday, game of the season. Let's go. Spartans versus Bears. No one's going to want to miss it. But yeah, no, on a real note, we are sick enough on this show to preview a game as simple as Michigan State versus Brown. So keep it tuned next segment for that. But hey, until then, hey, Ryan, should point the other way. Ryan, thanks a lot for joining us, man. Really do appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on. I'll actually be at that Brown game, so I'm looking forward to it.
Let's go. There we go. Ryan and 6 other people in Breslin Center to watch the Spartans. It's going to be electric on Saturday, and we're going to preview it here in a hot second. And before we get into Michigan State versus Brown, yes, that's right, the matchup we've all been waiting for this season. Before we get to that and previewing that game, just got to talk about the Ray Guy Award. If you thought that the punches in the stomach for this football season were not done, hey, you know what? We thought that on Thursday night we could have something to at least maybe barely somewhat smile about, as clearly the nation's best punter in Bryce Baringer would win the Ray Guy Award, the award for the best punter in the country. I mean, he just won Big Ten Punter of the Year. He has the highest punt average by a whole 2 yards, which is a lot in punting stats. At least we have that to smile about. That's a negative. Not even that was given to State fans this football season. Adam Korkrak, or whatever, however you say his name, Adam Korsak, there we go, of Rutgers. That's right. The guy who didn't even win punter of the year in his own conference because, well, our guy won it, wins nation's best punter. Just a few stats for you to sit on. Yards per punt. Okay. Adam Korsak, 44 yards. Bryce Baringer, 49 yards. You let me know what number's better than that. And also 50-plus yard punts. Adam Korsak, who had 70-something punts this year, 14 of those went for 50 or more yards. Bryce Baringer, 24 of those punts that went 50 yards or more. So, no, couldn't even smile about the silly award ceremony at the end of the season. So this was all just this football season, and this award show tonight was just like you had your worst day of all time at the office. You know, you woke up past your alarm. Okay, bad start there. Your coffee's just horrible. On your way to work, you have 2 flat tires. You get there, the boss just reams you out immediately, demotes you for some intern that just started 2 weeks ago. Oh, you get a call from your kid's school principal that they're acting up and being horrible. And oh my God, everything's spiraling out of control. But at the end of the day, you just pick up your favorite pizza, you know, just to really turn the mood around. At the end of this horrible season, we just tuned into this award show. Hey, you know what? Maybe our beloved punter can win an award tonight. But no, there was a toenail in the pizza tonight. There was no punter of the year award. So this is truly a year. What the hell? To not even smile about for even 5 seconds. Oh, man. Spartans versus Bears basketball court, Breslin Center, 4:30. Let's just talk about that because I can only talk about football for so much longer. Brown is fine. They're fine for an Ivy League team. They are 6-4 on the season. But hey, folks, they are riding a 5-game winning streak coming into this matchup on Saturday. However, complete opposite of Michigan State's schedule right here. This has been a opposite of a murderer's row of a schedule. They have only beat one top 200 rated opponent, and that would be Bryant. Yes, they took it to Bryant, beat them 72-60. And actually, Michigan State is going to be the first team in the top 100 net rankings that Brown has faced this season. So, quite frankly, we don't know all too much about Brown, other than, well, this. I wrote down a few things they're bad at, a few things they're good at. We'll get into their starting lineup here in a hot second, but things they're bad at. Sit down for this one because this number is almost unbelievable. Their free throw percentage, 55.8%. 55.8% on free throws. That is second worst in the nation. Yes, it is unbelievable that there's even a team that's worse than they are at free throw shooting. And it's a conference team. It's Minnesota is even somehow worse than that. But enough about the Gophers. Let's talk about the Brown Bears right now. Adjusted offensive efficiency, they are 315th in the nation. So no, they are not beating teams by just barraging them with three-pointers, high-profile offense. No, they win grinders of games. They got a solid defensive efficiency, 79th in the nation. So let's go to things that they are pretty good at. Well, I'll tell you what, they're pretty good at limiting offensive rebounds. Just 18.7% of opponents' missed shots get rebounded by them, because they're on offense. Folks, that 18.7% is best in the nation. They are a great team on the glass, on defense. And like I said, too, 79th best defensive efficiency. Almost said defensive efficiency. Close enough. Defensive efficiency in the nation. So, yes, they like to grind it up, muck it up, play a filthy game. And, it's kind of actually worked for them. 6-4 record on the year so far. And shooting-wise, they're middle of the pack. They're like pretty much dead in the middle as far as rankings in the country, though. So, of course, now that I just said that, they will have a 49% day from three-point land at Breslin Center because we just love to jinx things like that. Really quick, let's get into the lineup here. Who are their star players? One player is going to have a really familiar name for us State fans, but it's not the top guy. The top guy is Keno Lilly, 6 foot point guard. He has 13 shots per game, so a lot of the offense runs through him, shoots 38% from three-point land. However, a little turnover prone, 2.5 turnovers per game this season from Mr. Keno Lilly. Now, the second biggest player to watch out for Brown is Paxton Wojcik. And hey, that's right, Wojcik. Oh, that name sounds vaguely familiar. It's the son of Michigan State's assistant coach, Doug Wojcik. So, Paxton, 6'5" guard. He averages 13 and 7 per game, takes 6 threes per game, and pretty decent at it. 36% clip, and I went through his game log, and it really seems like he either has a really stellar game from three-point land or a whatever the opposite of stellar is. So, hot and cold shooter, but nevertheless, a good portion of the offense does run through him. Now, the rest of the starting lineup, Kalu Anye, 6'9" freshman, solid rebounder. We'll give him that. Malachi Ndur, he is strictly there for the cardio. I don't really know what he does. Aaron Cooley, another guy, just good athlete, rangy kid. So that's their starting lineup. 6 foot point guard, then 6'5", 6'9", and then some other lanky kids as well. But there is someone on the bench we want to highlight as well. Nana Owusu-Ananye. That's right, Nana Owusu-Ananye. That is a fun name to say. 6'8" forward, and he did start the first 7 games for Brown this year, but has since lost his starting role. He was a little turnover prone, so that might be why he had to take a back seat, but he still plays a good chunk for Brown. Averages 10 points, 7 rebounds per game. So, yes, no one's overly physically imposing on this Brown team, and I got to say, when a team's star players are point guards or wing players, as a State fan, you kind of feel good about that, right? Because who are MSU's best defensive players? Think guys like Tyson Walker, okay? He should match up to Keno Lilly just fine. That is going to be a straight jacket matchup for Mr. Tyson Walker. Paxton Wojcik, 6'5" guard. Okay, that's someone AJ Hogarth can handle. Solid defensive player. Even Jaden Akins as well. Solid defensive player. So, with those two guys being the key to the cogs of the Brown machine, okay, you start to feel a little good about that. Now, for further assurance of this game coming up and how good you should feel about it, BartTorvik.com has it slated as a 70-57 victory for your Michigan State Spartans. 90% chance of victory. And it'd be great to get a victory here because it is like a 10 or 11-day break in between games, and we'd like to sit on this with the victory in our mouth. So, hey, on that note, 4:30, Big Ten Network, catch the action. Or, hey, just go to Breslin Center. Tickets are available. But, hey, regardless of what you do, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for spending spending it with us here at Locked on Spartans. You guys are all the best. Love you all. Go green.